AI chatbots like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude, all of them have option to include the search results into it. But those are only limited to public pages. If I look for something like sneakers under $5,000, a YouTube video or a Reddit thread would be a public information. But when the agent have to scrape the Amazon website or any other marketplace, then those would be protected pages. And that is where you would need a scraping agent like this. This is the agent that we would be building out in this video. This is a web scraping agent and it can literally scrape anything on the internet, including Amazon product pages, their reviews, Google Play Store pages, Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, and all of that. This workflow has access to a scraping NCP tool, which is created by Bright Data. First, this agent looks for all the tools that is available to it. Then it executes the scraping tool, and then it saves all of it within a Superbase dashboard. Let me show you how this works in action. I can go on any account on Instagram. Right now, I'm on the BR football account and I can select any post. For example, if I want to see reactions on the new Real Madrid jersey, I can just copy this link from here. I will copy this entire post link and I will go back on the agent and I will drop this. Scrape the top 100 comments and tell me what people think about the new Real Madrid jersey. When I send this prompt, it will first trigger the list available tools node so that it knows that which all tools it has available. And then it would be using the relevant tools to get all the comments on the post. So here it has come up with all the top comments on the Instagram post and then it has summarized the results for me. Overall, the comments show a mix of excitement, criticism, while some find it appealing and other expressing disappointment. This is a small example of what all you can do with the scraping agent. If you're looking for the best way to automate web scraping so that you can either put it inside an app or maybe just use it for some of your own workflows, this video is for you. You're going to build out an N8N automation. You can use it as an agent or you can create a UI using Lovable or Bolt and then use it as a standalone product. You don't have to code anything and this is going to be super simple. Let's get started. You'll be following these 7 steps. Let's start from the top. The first step is setting up N8N on Render, which is also self-hosting N8N. For using the community nodes that we would be using within this agent, we would have to self-host N8N. Plus, it's also much more cheaper if you self-host it
rather than using it on N8N's platform.
this is the simplest process that I found anywhere on the web. What you have to do is you have to just create a render account. Once you create a render account, then you will land on this dashboard. Now go back onto this page and over here you will see this link, render examples N8N template. You have to just click on use this template, create a new repository. This would create a new repository in your GitHub account. Give it any name that you want to. In my account, I have already created this repository. This repository is N8N render. Within this repository, I don't have to do anything. Now I have to go back on render. Over here on the left, you will see this option called blueprints. Then you have to click on this button new blueprint instance. Then it will ask you to select a repository. I will select the repository that I just created, N8N render. And when I click on connect, this will automatically set up an entire project using this repository. I've already created this. Once you have initiated the process, then it will create a self-hosted version of N8N. Once this is created, go back on the project screen and you will see this N8N service that is already deployed. When I click on this link, this would redirect me to my self-hosted version of N8N. You can create workflow, you can save them. So you will also see that it has created this N8N database. Over here, all your changes would be getting stored as well. You just have to make sure that every time you make a change in the workflow, you are saving it. We are done with the first step. Let's move on to the second one, which is installing the community node. Just come on your N8N account, click on settings. You will see this option on the bottom called community nodes. I already have this community node. For installing this, I have to go to this npm repository. Over here, I could copy the name of this repository and I will just uninstall this to show you how I can install it back. I just have to click on this button called install. I have to put the name of the package and it would automatically fetch the package and install it on your self-hosted version. This would take around a minute. We are done with the second step in the process. Let's move on to the next one, which is creating a Bright Data account. For this, you have to just go on Bright Data's website, brightdata.com. Also, there are comparisons on the web around multiple providers like Bright Data, Appify, and Brave Search. You can check out one of these videos that I'm linking in the comment who would want to see that comparison. The reason why I'm using Bright Data because they have a very simple to use MCP server, plus their pricing is best out of all of them. On the Bright Data's website, just create a new account. When you create a new account on Bright Data, you also get $5 free to play around with the tool. How you have to set this up? Come on this icon on the top right called Add. Click on Web Unlocker API and you would be prompted to create a new zone. Over here, use the name MCP underscore unlocker. Make sure that you're using this exact name because the MCP that we will be using is configured to look for this name. I already have a Web Unlocker API by this name. That's why it's showing me duplicate zone name. You also have two optional settings over here. One is CAPTCHA solver. I would recommend you to keep it turned on. And second one is premium domains. Premium domains are basically some domains that are a bit more difficult to scrape. This does not include the regular websites that you would want to go on. So I would recommend you to just keep it turned off. It costs $1 more. Once you have created this, just click on add. Once you are done with creating this, then you would see a zone over here by the name MCP Unlocker. The next thing you have to do on this platform is just go to account settings and create a new API key. It allows you to create one API key and I already have that here. Just create the API key and make sure that you copy it because you would be needing it in the next step. Meanwhile, let's go back on our N8N to see if our community node is installed. And I see that now my N8N nodes MCP is installed here. If it is taking a lot of time for you to install this, cancel the process and starting it again. I faced the same error a couple of times and it worked. Coming back onto our checklist, we are done with everything until the third step, which is creating the Bright Data account. Also, all the links and all the websites that I'm visiting in this tutorial, all of them are linked down below. If you are enjoying the video so far, do consider subscribing me because creating these videos takes a lot of effort. It's something that I do on the side. If you would subscribe, it would really encourage me to create more of such tutorials. Now moving on to the next part, which is setting up a remote server on Smithry. I will go on Smithry. You will see that I'm already on the Bright Data page. But if you are using this platform for the first time, then it will ask you to log in. And then you will see the screen where you can search multiple MCP servers. Go to the Bright Data MCP server over here. If I go on Tools page, you will see that it can scrape Amazon products. It can also scrape product reviews. It can also scrape eBay products. It can also scrape LinkedIn profiles, LinkedIn job posts, and Instagram profiles, and a lot more. All of these tools are available to you when you're using the MCP server. And all of these will be available to our agent. For using this, you have to configure this MCP server. You would need the API key that you just generated in Bright Data. Click on generate over here and it will ask me for the API token. You just need to paste the API token that you created from Bright Data over here. In the optional settings, you can also mention the Web Unlocker zone name. But for our case, since it's MCP Unlocker, you don't have to do it. But if your name is something else, then you would have to mention it over here. Just click on connect and this would give you a URL. Copy this URL and we would be needing this in the next step. Meanwhile, if you would want to see that how this MCP server works and what are the things you can do with it, you can also go to the playground. You can select the MCP server that you would want to use. In this case, we are using the Bright Data MCP server. I will just select the Bright Data MCP and I will click on connect. This will open a new chat interface where I can interact with this MCP server. So for example, I want to use this MCP server for scraping reviews for any Amazon product. If I look for iPhone 15 on Amazon, I will copy this URL from here and I will come back on the MCP server. I will paste this URL. I will ask it to scrape the recent 50 product reviews on this and give me a summary of how the product is. When I send this, MCP will first figure out that which is the best tool to use. In this case, it's started using the tool Web Data Amazon Product Reviews. Then it's asking for my approval. I can also turn on the YOLO mode. When I turn it on, it does not ask me for permission to start using these tools. It has provided us a summary of the 50 recent reviews on Amazon. Overall, the feedback is very positive and all of those details. If you also want to see the raw data that it is summarizing over here, Just click on the tool name and this will show you the actual response that it got. Product rating count and what is the product review. Then and it will list all the 50 reviews that it actually went through. So this is one of the examples of what you can build out with this MCP server. We are done with the fourth step in the process as well. Now the next step for us is to create the workflow in N8N. Let's go back to a self-hosted version of N8N. I will open it. I will go back on the home. I will click on this option called create workflow and this will show me a blank canvas on the screen. For the first step, I will use on chat message. So this is basically the trigger for starting this workflow. If I select on chat message, then whenever I send a message to this workflow, it triggers. Select any trigger. We can choose to trigger this manually or on a schedule that it runs at 5 a.m. every day. Or we can also do this using a webhook call, which is basically a URL that you can embed in any app or let's say a Lovable or Bolt app, and this entire backend will get triggered with it. In this case, we would be using on chat message so that it's easier for us to also test it here. So I will use on chat message and I will create the first node. Now the next thing is we would have to create the agent over here. I will click on this icon and I will select AI agent, and this has three major components. The first one is chat model or basically the AI that you want to use with your app. In my case, I would be using OpenAI's chat model, but you can use anything else as well. You can use Gemini and Anthropic or DeepSeek. I will use OpenAI over here. And for using this node, you would have to connect your OpenAI account with it. I've already added this, but if you're using this for the first time, you would have to click on this button called Create New Credential. When you do that, then you would have to paste your API key over here. For getting this API key, you can just search OpenAI API key in Google and it would redirect you to this platform where when you sign in, you can actually create your own API key. And once you create it, then just input it here and save it. Then you can also select the model that you want to use along with this. I'm using ChatGPT 4o Mini because it's very fast and also cheap to use when you are scraping a lot of data. Based on your use case, you can select any model that you think is relevant. If you would want a deeper analysis on a smaller set of data, you can use any reasoning model like O3 or O3 Pro. Next thing that you have to use with this is memory. Memory is basically the number of messages that your database would remember in the entire conversation. Right now, I would be using simple memory over here because I don't want it to like remember the entire conversation. But if you would want something like ChatGPT that remembers the entire conversation history, consider using something like Postgres chat memory. I won't be covering it in this video, but if you are interested, do let me know in the comments and I will create another video around it. I will select simple memory over here and I will set the context window length to 5 messages. With that, it is set up. Now, the next thing we have to set up is basically the tools that are available to this. At this point, we would be using the community nodes that we just installed. Next, we would be defining the system message for this AI agent. For doing that, I will just double click on the AI agent. This will open up this window. Within this, you will see that it is already connected to the chat trigger node. I will change this from fixed to expression. I will copy the system prompt. I already have this created. You can also get this from the description below. I will just copy this prompt and paste this inside my workflow. I pop this out, you will see this entire prompt. This defines the role of the agent. Then it tells it about the list of available tools. And then it tells it that what is the day today. So with that, we have defined a system prompt for this agent. Now the last thing we would be doing is we would be adding our MCPs that we just created inside Smidri. For doing this, I will just click on this plus sign next to the tools. When I do that, I can search the tools that are available over here. One thing you need to notice is you don't have to select this MCP tool that is available on the top. The reason we are not using it is because right now it does not take a Smidri link as the input. That's why we will search for MCP here and we will select this MCP client tool that is within the other tools menu. And we will add this to the workflow. In this, you can add multiple MCP clients. I already have my Bright Data MCP connected here, but if you are adding this for the first time, just click on Create New Credentials. And over here, you will see 3 options for connecting a MCP. We would be selecting the third option, which is HTTP streamable. Over here, I will just copy the link that I just generated from Bright Data. I will paste this in HTTP stream URL and I will just click on save. You don't have to change any of the other parameters. Once you save this, then you can select it from the drop down. Now the next thing for you is to define the tools it will have access to. We would be creating the first MCP client that just lists all the available tools. Just to see if this is working, I will click on execute tool. It should list all the available tools. Engine. I see that it has the search engine tool, Scrape as Markdown, and all the other tools that we just saw on the Smidri website. This seems to be working fine. Next, I would be connecting the last tool that we need inside this workflow. We would be selecting the MCP node again, MCP client tool. We would be adding this to the workflow. I will select the Bright Data account that I just created over here. And instead of list tools, over here I will select execute tool. The first tool that we created, it will tell agent about all the available tools. And the second node that we are creating, it will help it execute the available tools. Here I will switch this tool name from fixed to expression. And I will copy this prompt that I have created and I will paste this here. This prompt just defines that the tool name needs to come from the agent. And finally, for the tool parameters, I will click on this icon on the top right, where I will let the model define that what parameter needs to be here. This parameter is different for every tool. Initial workflow is completed. Now I will just rename all of these quickly. I will call this agent as the web scraping agent. I will also rename this OpenAI chat model. I will call this the AI brain of the model because it would be making all the decisions in this workflow. Then memory would be chat memory. And for MCP client 1, which basically lists all the available tools, I will just write the name list available tools and I will rename this. I will move this a little down. And then for the last one, I will call this execute tool. We have the entire workflow. Let's test this out. I will just pop up this chat from here. I will click on open chat. Tell me what tools you have access to. I will send this message and in real time, you can see that wherever the entire processing is happening. First, it went to the AI brain so that it can define what it needs to scrape for. And then it went to the list available tools node. And once it gets the response, then it goes back to the AI brain again, which would be giving us the final output. In the output, I get all the available tools, search engine, scrape as markdown, and a bunch of other tools. Let's try out if the execute tool function is also working fine. I would be trying something on Medium. So what I will do is I will paste this link of a blog post on Medium. It basically is a link of a newsletter. When I send this here, I will ask it to scrape this information. Can you please go through all the blogs and share the title and the summary? When I send this, then it should be using the execute tool over here. It is working as expected. And then it comes back over here in the AI brain. It shares all the titles that were on the page with a brief summary of it. If I go back over here, the titles are exactly the same and it just does not share the tagline but the actual summary of the entire blog. This is working well. A small debugging tip: if your workflow is failing at this point, then what might be happening is that over here the tool parameters might be incorrectly getting passed off. In this case, try removing this and adding this again. Or what you can do is you can just save your workflow, then close the tab, then open the workflow again. This is something that my workflow kept failing at couple of times. But when I removed it and added this back again, started working. You might or might not need this. With this, the next step of a scraping agent is complete. We have created the N8N workflow. Now we need to provide it a memory or a database where it can save all those responses that it's generating every time. For that, we would be using Supabase. Supabase is also free to use. You don't need to pay anything to get started. I will sign up and create a new account. After signing up, it will ask you to create a new organization and select your plan. I will just select the free plan over here and I will create the organization. I will quickly add a password over here and you can select any region over here. It does not matter. It makes no difference at the scale of our project. It has already created a new project over here And with that, our Supabase project is set up. It would take around a minute to set up all the details, and I will mark this step as done as well. Now we are almost at the end of this. What we have to do now is we have to connect the Supabase node. I will select Supabase, and within this, I will select this option called Create Row. I would have to add my Supabase account to this node. For doing this, I will click on Create New Credentials, and I have to add the host and the service role secret over here. I will go back on the new Supabase project. I will copy the project URL from here, and I will paste this back over here. Then we also have to copy the service role secret. For getting this, you just have to go to the settings panel, and within settings, just go to API keys. You have to copy the service role, which is marked as secret over here. I would be revealing this and copying this and pasting this on my initn, and I've pasted my service role secret over here, and after that I will save this. Initn successfully tried connecting with it and the connection is working fine. Now for saving all the data, we would need a new table within Supabase. For doing that, I will go to the table editor over here and I will click on create a new table. I will call this scraping data, and I will add a few columns over here. The first column would be the row ID, then created at, then I will add a new column and I will call this output. I will select the format to be text, and there is no default value. And with that, I will save this. You can also add multiple parameters over here. For example, you can also add the original query that was being asked. You can also add a column for putting in the link that were originally saved. A new table scraping data is created over here. Now, when I go back over here and I look for a table ID, it still does not show up. Let me just close this and open this again. When I open this again, now I see the new table called scraping data. Come back to fields to send section over here. I will add fields and I will select the field that I want to map to it. So I will select output over here and I will drag down this output to the field value. You can also define multiple fields over here. Right now, we have not defined the output format for our web scraping agent. That's why we only get one output. With that, I will try executing this step and see if this is working. A new table entry is actually created within the table. Let's go back on Supabase and see if this is working fine. I will just refresh this page and I see a new table is created. So this workflow is working fine. Let's test this end to end. I will send a new prompt. Can you tell me the latest football transfer news? I see the output, and after that, it would also create a new row within Supabase. So let's go on Supabase and see if this output is also saved in a new row. And I see new row over here with all the information that we just got. Arsenal transfer. Then we also has Chelsea, Barcelona, Manchester City, and news about all the transfers along with the link that it refers to. So with that, our workflow is completed. From this point onward, you can build this further. How you can do that is replacing this node. Let's say if you would want to add this within an app, what you can do is you can just delete this node from here and you can add a new node. Just click on adding a new node and you can select a new trigger. If I would want to use this within an app, I can select a webhook call and I can use this webhook call over here and I will just add this to my workflow. This entire workflow will run and the information would be saved within Supabase. I can show that information on a chat screen or on the user's dashboard within my product. Another thing that you can do as well is you can also schedule this to run every day. For example, if you would want to run a query every day using this workflow, you can just add this here. For example, if you would want to track your followers on Instagram, on YouTube every day, you can just create a table over here and it will fetch the latest subscriber count from your account. Or you can also do it for news every day so that you can create an agent that scrape news that is relevant for you. That's all for this video. I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.